Hi guys, in this video I'll be recapping 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Season 7, Episode 8. If you enjoy recaps of reality shows like 90 Day Fiancé and Love is Blind, please like, comment, and subscribe. And check out my other videos and playlists. We'll start with Greta and Matthew. They're headed to look at houses since they want to move out of his parents' home. He scheduled tours of rentals that he didn't run past Greta ahead of time. Since she wants some buy-in, Greta wants to know if any of the places will be in urban areas, and he's like, probably not as much as you'd like, as he gives her several rude side glances. Greta says in her confessional that one of the things she wanted in moving to England was a walkable city with public transportation, since she likes to be able to walk to the coffee shop or store. She says Matthew has lived in cities before, but he also loves the country, so she's hoping they can find a compromise. When they get to the first place, it's in a small village, so not urban at all, and it's much larger than she was picturing, since it has several bedrooms and way more space than they'd need as a couple without kids. She says she pictured them in a small flat with their cats, but not a huge house for multiple kids. And if he wants to save money, why would they be getting a place with extra space they don't need? They go to a bedroom and Matthew's like, we could put a couple of twin beds in here for kids. Greta's shocked, but she makes a joke with the rental agent about how they're planning for twins. In her one-on-one, she says that comment made her concerned, since she's not sure if she wants kids, but she hasn't told him this yet. During the tour, Greta points out that she thinks the stove is really small. To me, it looks normal size. Am I crazy? In the car, Matthew asks what she thinks. She says what he could have predicted if he'd listened to her, that she'd feel isolated here. He says it doesn't matter where you live if both people drive, because you can live a distance from the center of town. She tells him it doesn't make sense to get a house at this point in their relationship, because they don't need that much space. As she talks, you can see this guy getting triggered. The way he comes across, it's like everything she says puts him over the edge. In her confessional, she says she's feeling overwhelmed, and that her needs were mowed over. He says he doesn't mind more space. She tells him she doesn't think they're at a place where they should be getting a house yet. He's like, noted. Personally, I think he enjoys upsetting her. At least as he's presented on the show, I find Matthew off-putting. And he gives me the energy of someone who's right at the edge of going all the way off on something really small. I really want her to go back home to her law degree and her beloved cat. Now we're with Pattiya and Dylan, who are driving to his home from the airport. In his interview, he says he's excited to show her his place, which he recently renovated for them. He says he knows it's not a ring, but a house should count for something. She comes in like, oh, babe, this is super cute. And you can tell she doesn't love it, which I don't blame her for, since there's zero furniture. In his one-on-one, he reminds us that he likes things simple, but she likes luxury. He adds that he's very structured, which we'll see in a minute. They cut to Dylan cooking while Pattiya is wearing a facial mask. He mentions how many calories there'll be in the meal he's cooking, and she's like, what the? He says normally he'll make 150 grams each of protein and rice, and then he'll add some micronutrients, and he'll repeat the meal 5 times throughout the day, every 2 to 3 hours. And he does this every day. How does that make sense? And he talks about wasting money. That would be so much meat every day. This time he's cooking salmon, and she asks if he's seasoning it, and he says, you know how I like to cook, implying that he never uses seasoning. But he's bought a whole cabinet's worth of spices just for her, from which she selects a few options for their meal. In her interview, she says the difference between them is night and day as far as their preferences in cooking, and that they'll argue a lot about food. She says he'll do crazy things like boil chicken to get the fat out. Mercy. She thanks him for cooking, but wants to know if she can cook sometimes too. He says yes, but that he needs 50 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and some micronutrients in every meal, which is different from the amount he gave in his confessional, but okay. He says her cooking has lots of sugar and oil, but they're fun cheat meals for him sometimes. She takes offense and says her meals are not unhealthy. He says she just throws ingredients in, and he needs precision, that since he's trying to keep his physique in shape, he needs to be strict. She wants him to lighten up, but he says that's how he likes to live. He says if she cooks for him, he wants to tell her what to cook, and she gasps. They cut to the morning when Dylan is making protein shakes. He gets a call from his mom, Jo. She asks if she can come over, and Dylan and Pattiya give each other a look. Pattiya is panicking since she doesn't feel ready to receive guests, having just gotten up. In his confessional, Dylan says Pattiya and his mom don't get along. He says Pattiya thinks he has an abnormal relationship with his mom, and his mom sees the animosity Pattiya has for her, and she's not a fan. So he's hopeful they can start on the right foot and not start off fighting. The mom arrives and gives Pattiya flowers and a hug. In her confessional, the mom says she hasn't seen Pattiya in 11 years, and she doesn't have a problem with Pattiya, but she feels Pattiya has a problem with her, due to jealousy over her relationship with her son. She thinks it's strange that Pattiya would want to get between a mother and her son's relationship, because they're bound for life. So she hopes Pattiya is happy to share Dylan with her. They're talking about furniture Pattiya would like to add to the house, and the mom's like, Dylan, you better keep an eye on her. Pattiya says she's getting better at it, and the mom says, oh, you mean the spending? Dylan tells Pattiya he wants to believe her, that she's better now about the finances, but he's not sure. After the mom leaves, Pattiya tells him she was bothered that he told his mom their business. He says since she was having trouble paying her rent and bills, he felt he had to tell his mom. He mentions that she had a huge shopping spree just a week ago. I was surprised since I thought they were implying that this was an old issue, but it sounds like it's ongoing. He says since he'll be supporting her, if she wants to come here and have a luxurious lifestyle, that won't work. She insists she doesn't need that lifestyle anymore and she's changed. In his interview, he says he's been asking for a commitment for 12 years, but if she wants a lavish lifestyle, he's not there yet. To me, it's a given that these two won't work. I believe it'll be mostly due to his mom's involvement, but his finicky habits are also a huge thing that would bother most people. I also didn't realize that Pattiya's spending issue was still such a present-day thing, so that will be hard to navigate. So yeah, not much hope for this couple. We're now with Manon and Anthony in France, where Manon takes every opportunity to shame his French pronunciation, which I'm sure is helping his confidence. They're sitting on a park bench talking about how their son Benjamin will be baptized the next day. She invited her entire family to the event, and they're all coming. She says some of the family have beef with each other, but she thinks she can bury the hatchet. Anthony tells her he feels uncomfortable about the baptism since he's not religious. He tells her he's doing this for her and that he's there for her, and she thanks him. She says her family and extended family stress her out and always pick at her, and she feels like the black sheep, and she's worried she won't be able to control her temper at the dinner. During all this, they keep cutting to Benjamin standing in the field by himself. I don't know if the producers are implying that the parents aren't monitoring him enough, but it seems like they're implying something. At one point, it looks like the cameraman is following the kid, and they cut back to the parents talking intently on the bench, seemingly unaware of their son's existence. They're now in a church preparing for the baptism. In her confessional, Manon says her relationship with her sister Marie is complicated, especially since she moved to the US. She says she made Marie the godmother to help them reconnect. The baptism goes well, and Benjamin seems like a calm baby and doesn't cry. They cut to the dinner event after the baptism, where Manon is giving a speech. During the speech, you can see her sister Marie giving a side eye, and there are other shots of relatives looking generally disgruntled. But then they seem to be having a good time, so who knows. Manon tells Anthony her mojito is super strong. Then they're talking about sausage, and she makes innuendos, and Anthony reminds her that they're in public. She says the others can't understand English. He says Marie can understand, and they pan to Marie giving them a look. Then Manon is drunkenly complaining to a relative about trying to find balance in her work and home life, and she's getting teared up. Family members are giving her looks like she's being a little too loud and emotional. Her dad asks if she's okay, and she says she's tired. The mom says maybe it's the alcohol she had. She says no, it's not the alcohol, as she takes another drink of her booze. She weepily tells her family the same story, about how she's afraid she won't find balance in her life, and she doesn't want to go back to what she was in the US, but she doesn't want to give up her career. Her parents are being very supportive and saying she's always succeeded and done what she set out to do. She blows off their comments saying everyone needs to work, but they continue to give her affirmations. She always says her parents aren't supportive, and maybe they weren't in the past, but they seem extremely supportive here. Matthew leaves to take Benjamin home to bed since he's acting up. In his interview, he says Manon is already getting tipsy and crying, and he wants to leave before it gets worse. That's where we leave off with them, so we'll see what happens in the next episode. Moving on to Chloe and Johny in Aruba. They're heading to a bar, and Chloe says she invited her friend Kariana to join them. In her confessional, Chloe says Johny doesn't drink, but that she fully embraces it, which provides some foreshadowing of things to come. Johny says his friend Keyner is coming along. Chloe bristles at this, and she dislikes Keyner intensely, as we'll see. When they arrive at the bar, they sit outside, and Chloe shares that she and Kariana were spying on Johny today. He says that shows no trust in the relationship. She's like, but then it's okay to share your relationship one day and not the next? She says she needs more than one day to get over that. Girl, what? When Kariana shows up, Chloe asks her to come over and give her a hug, since she doesn't want to get up and go say hi to her, and Kariana looks rightfully annoyed. Then Keyner shows up, who's Johnny's friend and Kariana's boyfriend. In her confessional, Chloe says when she heard Keyner cheated, it made her view him differently, because she thinks he creates space to enable Johnny's bad behavior. Johny tells Keyner the girls were spying on him today, and Keyner says he saw them spying. And I'm like, that's what I thought. I pointed out in my last recap that I thought they could see them spying on the boat since it was so friggin' close. I mean, come on. Keyner says Chloe had better be nice to him. Chloe says she doesn't want to have a problem with him. He says, you better not. She says, no, you'd better not. He says, don't try to start a fight. Kariana looks over it. In his interview, Keyner says since he met Chloe, he knows how she is, and her personality is a lot. He says he tries to be easygoing with her since he knows he can be a jerk too. But he says she's an outright a-hole, and I have to agree. Chloe says she has an issue with them going out together, and Johny says he should be able to go out with his friend. Chloe has pounded several drinks at this point. Johny says, you can't control me like that. And she turns to him and is like, respect me. Respect what I say. Johny says, I'm not defending Keyner. She says, you're not defending me either, so you can't be effing Switzerland. Keyner says, you have to understand that Johny letting you come here and live with him is a big deal. She says he doesn't have anything to lose and he's not risking the same as her, that she risked her entire life. Kariana looks really annoyed at Chloe at this point. The amount of side eyes she gave Chloe during this conversation was staggering. In her confessional, Chloe says she doesn't see Johny giving up anything except hooking up with random tourists. How about giving up his autonomy and sanity, Chloe? Johny says at this point they need to trust each other. She says she's had so many issues in the past where trust was broken. Let me remind you guys that Johny never cheated on Chloe. In fact, she cheated on him. She saw an Insta post where Johny was talking with girls on the boat, like he does for his job, so she took that as disrespect, and that's why she's being so controlling over him. To me, it's clearly an issue of her projecting her own behavior on him. In my last video, I said I didn't think she was dangerous or scary yet, but I want to change my answer now. This was unhinged behavior, and she felt so comfortable being hostile and talking like her words were gospel, when she's really clueless and she's the one who cheated. She also gets worked up the more she drinks, so that's another issue she may want to get in check. In the preview for the next episode, Chloe's mom is coming to visit them and being a Karen about Johnny's living situation, and I'm sure that's helpful for his increasing stress levels. The mom also mentions she's cutting off Chloe financially, so that should make things more interesting. I was bored by this couple at first. Things are getting a little spicier lately, but I still wish they would get off our screens and that she would leave him alone. It seems like he doesn't really like her that much, especially with how she's acting here. You can see he's really over the controlling nonsense, and I can't imagine he'll want to go on much longer once the mom is a contributing factor. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.